My boyfriend is driving me insane because he keeps hiding my stuff and then putting it back later, saying I must have just not seen it and that I'm causing unnecessary drama. Posted by you/Maminda Sinborbora. My boyfriend of 5 months moved in with me 3 weeks ago. He had some problems with his apartment, damp walls, and it needs to be renovated. Since my roommate is currently spending some time abroad, I told him it would be okay if he stayed at my place for 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be able to move back to his own apartment by then. So now we've been living together for 3 weeks, and things started out great. Jealousy had been a bit of a problem between us because we often go out separately, probably once a week, but coming home to the same apartment helped him get over his unjustified jealousy. But there has been one new problem. Now, this may seem petty at first, but I'm really at my wit's end with this one. Ever since he moved in with me, things have started disappearing and then reappearing a day later in the same place they were missing from. I'm talking about documents, small household items, and food. And it's not like losing keys and then finding them again somewhere else. I specifically look for something in a certain place where it isn't, only for it to be there the next day. For example, I like to take a chocolate bar with me to work in the morning, and for that, I normally keep a pack of chocolate bars at home. Shortly after he moved in, I woke up to find all the chocolate was gone. I asked him about it, and he said he didn't know anything about it. I came home only to find the chocolate bars back in the cupboard. I asked him again, and he said he didn't know anything about it. Maybe you just didn't see them in the morning. We're talking about a large pack with about 12 chocolate bars, how could I not see that? At first, I thought it was maybe some strange kind of humor, but he seems angry when I bring it up, and it's really starting to piss me off because, sometimes, the missing items belong to my friends, and I end up unable to return them on time. Other times, they're important documents I need for a specific day. Now, I have absolutely no idea what this is about. I am not crazy, I just don't understand it all. He gets really angry when I talk about it, saying I'm making this up just to cause drama. Why would I do that? I have no idea what's going on. Does anyone have any ideas? Relevant comments. Commenter. He's gaslighting you, you need to run. Ops response. Someone else used that term too. I looked it up on Urban Dictionary, but I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean. And why would someone do that? I mean, what's the goal behind it? Commenter 2. The goal is to make you think you're crazy so that you doubt your own sanity, while he remains in control of the situation and is always right because you are clearly insane. Commenter 3. To expand on this comment, it's a way to manipulate you and increase his control while diminishing yours. It sets the stage for an abusive relationship, manipulating the victim into dependency on the abuser, making them mentally uncertain or unable to leave the relationship, often financially trapped or without the means to escape. You may want to question his motives here. Would someone who cares about you, and who you supposedly care about, want to make you feel insane? What motive would he have for moving your things and then putting them back? Ops response. I don't know, this sounds really messed up. He's a nice guy, and, I don't know how to put it, he's not the most academic guy. This sounds like serious psychological manipulation. Commenter 4. You mean, you think he's a nice guy because his actions, before his most recent ones, have led you to assume so? How long did you know him before you started dating? Do you have a lot of mutual friends? Do you know any of his exes? Does he have a job? Does he stay inside all day? Ops response. I've known him for about 2 months. We met at a mutual friends party. I had just gotten out of another relationship and wasn't interested in dating, but he showered me with very romantic gifts, gestures, and letters, which I hadn't experienced with any of my exes, so we started going on dates about a month after we met. He wanted a relationship very quickly, and at some point, I thought, why not? He works at a gym, but only 6 hours a day, so he's not there all day by himself. He usually leaves the apartment 2 hours after I do and returns 1 to 2 hours before me. Update 9 days later. First of all, thank you all very much for your suggestions, advice, support, and concern. I've received multiple PMs asking if I was okay, and I really appreciate it. So, back to my situation. After reading all your comments and doing some research on gaslighting, I was really freaked out. Plenty of you pointed out other red flags in our relationship. It got me thinking, and more things came to mind that should have worried me a long time ago. Our whole relationship felt pretty rushed from the start. I didn't even want to date, but he showered me with romantic gifts, gestures, date ideas, and texts until I finally gave in. He was pretty upset when I didn't want to say I love you right away, when I didn't want him to meet my family immediately, when I insisted on using a condom, he said you don't trust me, and when I refused to book an expensive vacation with him. He was very jealous and didn't want me to go out without him, even though he went out with his friends all the time. He made me cancel plans to spend time with him and then stood me up. He logged into my Facebook and changed my relationship status one day after we started dating as a surprise. I was actually worried about that at the time but convinced myself he was just bad at making surprises. As one commenter pointed out, all the things that had gone missing were somehow connected to me leaving the house or meeting friends and family: a gift for my friend, the key to my parents' house, a borrowed USB stick, documents for an application for a semester abroad, which we had a huge fight about because he didn't want me to go, etc. After reading about gaslighting, I ordered a nanny cam. Unfortunately, the delivery took 4 days, but after just one day, I already knew I couldn't be with him any longer. I wanted him out of the apartment as soon as possible and with as little drama as possible. I told him that my roommate had gotten a really interesting job offer and would be cutting her vacation short to come home in a week, so he had to move out. He was pretty angry, but I told him there was nothing I could do. I also told him, as some of you suggested, that his landlord had to find him a place to stay and that he should call him. The next day, he told me he had talked to his landlord and could move back into his own flat the following weekend. The renovations hadn't taken as long as planned. At this point, I doubt the apartment ever had damp walls to begin with, but who knows? That evening, he asked if I wanted to move in with him because it works so well and you don't like your roommate anyway. I never even said that. I told him sure, I would move in with him in June. He was pretty excited about it. While waiting for the nanny cam to arrive, there was one more incident where something went missing: a book I had ordered for my dad on Amazon and planned to bring him the next day, or at least, that's what I told my boyfriend. Of course, by morning, the book was gone. I chose to ignore it, but he reacted strangely, even asking me on my way out if I had taken the book with me. Why on earth would he ask that if he didn't expect a reaction? I just said, "What book?" "The book you wanted to bring your dad." "I don't know what you're talking about." That evening, the book was back on my desk, of course, and I ignored it again. 2 hours later, he casually walked by my desk and said, "That's the book I was talking about." I just said, "Oh, that book." He seemed pretty angry for the rest of the evening. 2 days later, the nanny cam finally arrived. I set it up while he was at the gym and, once again, placed a letter I needed for work on my desk. I wasn't surprised at all when it was gone a few hours later and reappeared the next day. When I finally had the apartment to myself again and could check the footage, I saw exactly what I already knew. He took the letter while passing my desk, put it in his gym bag, and then put it back a few hours later. However, as soon as I saw the evidence, I decided against confronting him. To be honest, I was scared of his reaction and had already decided to break it off as soon as possible. The camera didn't tell me his motive, and I figured he probably wouldn't tell me anyway. Still, it frustrated me that I would probably never know why he did it. On the last evening before he moved back to his newly renovated apartment, I told him I wanted to watch an old movie called Gaslight. Thanks for the tip, everyone, it really is a great movie. He sat with me through the whole film but was quieter than usual while I kept talking about how unrealistic it was and how obviously insane the husband was. I actually expected some kind of reaction from him, but he just sat there looking nervous. On Sunday, he took all his stuff back to his apartment. My brother had arranged for someone to come and change the locks, and as soon as that was done, I sent my boyfriend a text telling him it was over. I said I had no interest in being contacted again, that our breakup was final, and that it was very sad he had to hide my things to keep the relationship interesting. Since then, he's been calling me nonstop, but I haven't picked up and I won't. I know this isn't the most heroic or exciting ending. I could have confronted him with the video evidence, but instead, I cowardly broke up via text. However, I really didn't want to have a dramatic fight, I just wanted it to be over as quickly and smoothly as possible. If there's anything I've learned from this, it's not to rush into a relationship. For the past 7 years, I've jumped from one long-term relationship to the next, and I think it's time to stay single for a while and focus on my college classes. For now, I'm staying at my brother's for a couple of weeks, and I should probably change my phone number. I'm sorry I can't give you any insight into why he did it. It could have been kleptomania, a prank, or just him messing with my stuff because something about me frustrated him. I will probably never know. In all the texts he sent me, he just says he doesn't know what I'm talking about and that he never took my things. Relevant comments. Commenter. Breaking up with this psycho over text wasn't cowardly in this case, you did all the smart things. You busted him on video, got him out of the house, changed the locks, and then broke up with him. If anything, this is probably one of the smartest breakups I've ever seen. Ops response. Thank you for saying this. I was so freaked out, I just wanted him to leave quietly. Commenter 2. You said something very wise near the end of your post, that you needed to stop rushing into relationships and spend some time by yourself. I learned, after many unproductive relationships, none of them were bad, they were just nothing special, that learning to spend time by myself and becoming comfortable with it made me a much happier and calmer person. It allowed me to approach relationships differently because I was no longer desperate for someone to be with, I was quite happy with my own company. Now, I only spend time with people who make me happy. I have no interest in friendships or romantic relationships that are stressful. Ops response. Exactly, I had a long talk with my brother and his wife, and they reluctantly told me that most, if not all, of my ex-boyfriends were some kind of douches and that they always had the feeling they held me back. So, I guess it's really for the best to focus on myself for a while. Second update 2 months later. Final update, I'll try to keep it short this time. Unfortunately, my last update was locked, so I couldn't reply to every comment I would have liked to. In the past few weeks, I've gotten some messages asking if I'm okay/still alive, so I thought I'd write one more update. I'd love to give you an overall happy update, but unfortunately, the breakup didn't go as smoothly as I first thought it would. I never picked up when my ex called me and never responded to any of his countless messages, but I read most of them. There was a certain shift in his messages after about 4 days when he suddenly went from this, "I love you and miss you so much. I don't know what you think I have done, but I can assure you I didn't do anything wrong. Whoever told you that is a liar. Please give me another chance." To this, "You're such a whiny beach, no wonder you can't hold a relationship with anyone. I hate you, and there's no second chance for us, no matter how much you wish for that. For your own sake, pray to never run into me again." I blocked his number later that same week but had an overall bad feeling when some strange things started happening. Some friends of mine called to ask if I was okay, and they were all under the impression that I had broken up with him because I wanted to concentrate on my mental health. Twice, I arrived at work to find everyone surprised to see me because someone had called to say I wasn't feeling well enough to come in. When I asked who it was, they said he had claimed to be my doctor. Also, my ex wrote to my mom on Facebook. They had never actually met in person, pretending to be a concerned friend asking about my well-being after my latest breakdown. It was very easy to clear some of that up, especially with my family, but it was harder to do so at work. After 3 weeks at my brother's, I decided to move back into my own apartment, which turned out to be a bad idea. On the second evening, I saw my ex in front of the building, and then I saw him at least every other day, standing on the other side of the street, just watching. After about a week, someone started ringing the bell at 3 a.m. for 5 nights straight. On 3 occasions, I came home to find a small piece of paper in front of my door with a flame drawn on it. It creeped me out so much that he somehow managed to get into the building. I grew more and more afraid to leave the apartment and finally decided to move back in with my brother and his family. My friend, whom I shared the apartment with and who is currently abroad, didn't take the whole situation well. She was furious when she heard that I changed the locks without telling her, and even more furious when I told her I'd be moving out because that wasn't what we had initially agreed upon. However, I just can't go back there. In hindsight, though, I probably should have involved her more in the process. I did ask her parents if it was okay to change the lock since it's their apartment, but I didn't speak to her about it. I feel really crappy about letting him stay in her apartment in the first place. I also went to the police to get a restraining order. I was surprised by how hard it is to get one. I needed not only evidence of him harassing me but also evidence that he was threatening my safety. However, after long hours and much patience from my sister-in-law, I finally got one. The bright side is that I got approved for my semester abroad, which starts in October. To avoid burdening my brother any longer, I will be leaving in August and maybe traveling around a bit. I'm already in a Facebook group with all the other exchange students who will be there next semester, and I think I certainly won't be alone. When I come back, I'll be looking for a small apartment on my own. I can't thank you all enough for opening my eyes after my first post here. I actually had no idea what was going on, even though I had a feeling that something was off. You guys saved me from a very abusive relationship, and every day, I'm grateful I got out of it soon enough.